Scott says, when were these fresh sightings? And Scott's got a point here. So we've got these new witnesses who've come forward sort of during the weekend, it would appear, after some of the recent coverage, and say they have seen some men acting suspiciously. These were two men, I think, on the day before Nicola's disappearance, who are carrying fishing equipment, and they are wrapped up quite warm on a mild day. So someone with hindsight decided that seems suspicious. And apparently one of the guys was spotted there back again the next morning, which is the day that Nicola disappeared. Holly, what more do we know about all that? Do we know presumably they're going to want to trace all of these people. They're going to want to trace the men, these suspicious looking fishermen as well, aren't they?
They are, yeah. I mean, I think we haven't heard either anything from police yet about whether they're following up on sightings of a suspicious looking red van as well. I think what's important is that some of these witnesses that have mentioned these things, like the fishermen, like the red van, have reflected on what would otherwise be completely like innocuous, things that they probably wouldn't have noticed, wouldn't have thought about. And then obviously having reflected on the Nicola Bulley disappearance, have remembered things that they thought, actually, maybe I'll just tell the police this in case it turns out to be anything. But what we haven't had yet from police is confirmation that they definitely are looking into this. So, I mean, obviously when the red van was mentioned last week, it was put to police, but they haven't kind of come back and confirmed that they're following it up as a line of inquiry. I mean, they've said as a general blanket statement that they're open to any information which helps them find Nicola. And despite the fact that they've come out and said that they don't think there's a suspicious element, they obviously are open to anything that can help them, find her, and they're keeping an open mind, is what they've kept saying throughout all of this, to the various possibilities. So it's a bit of a bizarre one from the police perspective again, because, like we were just saying about sort of pigeonholing yourself into a theory, they've kind of come out and said what they think has happened, but they are also sort of counteracting that by saying that they're keeping an open mind and they want people like this who saw things like this to come forward. So I think what remains to be seen for this week, and what we'll really be pushing the police on, is these suspicious sightings. What are you doing with this information? Are you investigating it as an active line of inquiry?
Exactly. And as, just speaking as journalists, if you go in and have an opinion about how the story ought to be or sounds like to you before you sort of go in the front door, as it were, then you just ask entirely different questions, don't you, than if you think the story is something different. So the whole trick when you're trying to find out what really happened is to make sure you ask all the questions about all the things from all the different perspectives, which is why sometimes interviews go on for hours, and try to form as clear a view of things as you possibly can, which presumably many police officers down there are going to be trying to do. But if they're working towards one thing, or that's their main hypothesis that they're trying to prove or disprove, then that's where the problems might come in.